My name is Brycelyn Comstock, and this is my informative speech over the president election coming up. And my audience is my friend Maddie. All my other roommates went home, so I hope only one viewer is okay for today. Okay, anyways, to get started. So, the upcoming presidency is to be held on November 3rd. This is an election being ran between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans' candidate is Donald Trump, which is the president we have now and has been running for the last 4 years. And then the other candidate that is up is Joe Biden, and he is a Democrat, and they have totally different views. With this running, coming in, you have two very different people, but the polls are so different, the voting's so different, that this can be a really close race. And honestly, we have no idea who is predicted to win this. November 3rd should be very, very interesting. So if you're able to vote, get out there and make a difference in the polls. So to get started, a lot of it goes off of electoral college votes, but it can also go off of popular votes. Majority of the time, electoral college has more control over technically who wins in a sense. So to win, you need 270 electoral votes. So that being said, the numbers we're at now is if the election were to be held today, technically Biden's numbers now would suggest he would win. With Biden already being at 275 and Trump only being at 125. With that being said though, there is still 138 votes left up for grabs that could most likely go to Trump is how they're leaning, but are really still up in the air. Same with Biden, some of his votes. So we really have no idea which way they're going or which way they're leaning. Some of these states may include Iowa, Florida, Texas, Nebraska, Georgia, and 20 other states in that amongst that are still undecided or leaning either way. You would think with the numbers being so different that it would seem like Biden has a shoe win, but in this case, they are only 6 points apart, and when it comes to voting, 6 points is not a lot. So truly, anybody's up for grabs, and that is dated now, and those votes are going off of just the past few months. Anything can happen up until the election, which is being held on November 3rd, like I said. So to go forward with what we're talking about, we'll talk about the two candidates that we have and what they stand for and their beliefs. So to start off, we'll talk about Trump. So Trump is the president now, and he's a Republican. Some of the things he stands for is things such as jobs and money and trades, and the stock market is huge for Trump, and along with the healthcare system. He also, immigration is huge in Trump's policies that he has set in place right now, and also would be a Second Amendment, which would be guns. And then to counter that, you have Biden, which he is a Democrat. And some things he stands for is he is big into talking about the coronavirus, since that has hit us and impacted us heavily this year. Jobs, racial justice, healthcare, the school systems, immigration is huge for him. So they're very, very, very different. So going back to Trump, some of the things that Trump wants is to go with what he stands for. When it comes to the two, they are very opposite, such as Trump is very into stopping immigrants at the border if they are illegal and sending them back forthwith, that is his goal, where Biden contradicts that, and he wants the opposite and would accept them and doesn't want the policies that Trump already has in place. Same with such as jobs and foreign policies and all things. They have total different standpoints on both. So that's why voting's hard this year, because you're either one or the other, and really voters could go either way since they are so different, and it's going to be very hard to choose. Let's say if you're going, so we'll talk about Trump first. If you're going off Trump, if he were to get elected, let's say, he wants to put a stop to COVID. That is his big thing. He has really pushed to start opening up our country again and getting things back open. And this obviously coronavirus was a huge impact to the year of 2020. So for him, he is looking to end COVID, where Biden's opposite. But to keep going on Trump's end, why Trump has been in office, and these are some of his pros and cons, but to go over his pros, his stock market since he has been in office has been fantastic and has actually raised quite a bit, and he also has a great economy. Speaking of economy, that's like your jobs and taxes, everything else has really been great for most people in our societies. But some of his cons would be in the people's eyes, some of his cons could be seen as sometimes the unstable business people that he works with, so such as he fires a lot of people, has a lot of new people coming into office, really up in the air, like he just changes who he's around and who he works with a lot, just off of allegations, different things, so that could take a big play. And some people may also think that his social media life, such as Twitter, can make a big impact negatively on him, depending on who you ask. It really just depends on the person. Some people see that as negative, that he puts so much out in the open for everybody to see. Now, talking about Biden, if he were to get elected, and go there, these are his pros and cons. So his pros would be he has the support from the DNC, which makes a big difference in a lot of people's eyes, and in our societies, that is a huge deal. Another thing would be that he supports everybody, and especially supports women, which is really big in society with females trying to get equal to men. So some may see that as a good thing too. When it comes to cons, foreign trades are not in his best interest, seeing from others. So many will say that he's very down in that area of his campaign is foreign, and then also would be don't get me wrong, everybody has a bad past, but some like to bring up his past a lot, which can be seen negatively depending just on who he's worked with and who he has stood for, could be seen negatively, is what I'm trying to say. Now, when it comes into the election, now I've taken into play what they will stand for, their pros and cons. I think most people can agree that the biggest thing that has impacted us here is the coronavirus. So, now let's talk about, furthermore, what would happen and what each president, or which each candidate wants. Talking about with impacted, COVID impacting them. So, Republican, if the Republican side was one, which is Donald Trump, he wants to open back up our communities and open back up our world and start, no more masks and just get back to normal. He really wants to get the stock markets back up, get the jobs back up. He just wants to get back open. And that, for some people, is a very good thing, because some people are just so tired of COVID taking so much of a toll on us. So I think for some people, that is a good thing for them, and that really puts Trump higher up in their views. When it comes to the Democrats now, when it comes to COVID, which would be Joe Biden, they want to keep it shut down still. And they have even furthermore said that they would keep it down till 2021, 2022, so maybe even a year or two from now. And some people see that as a healthy thing to do, to try to get COVID contained, but others see that as pointless and just think that we've had enough and that our numbers have lowered enough to get back out. So it really depends on who you're asking and how they feel about it. Now, to keep talking about COVID, since this has been such a big impact, especially with it being an election year and this had to happen, this year, it's just crazy. COVID can actually be used against the Republican Party just because they are in office while all this happened. So one thing that Donald Trump is really known for is creating jobs and having a great stock market and a great economy. That is his known thing, right? So since COVID has happened, jobs have definitely gone down. So many people lost jobs because of COVID, which can negatively hurt him, which can be used in the Democrats' favor when it comes to voters and such, trying to get them to their side because of the negative impact COVID had on our stock markets and economy, which goes against Trump's things that he likes and like that he like promotes. So because of this could actually cause more people to vote for Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, depending on how you see it. With all that being said, though, yes, that could help the Democrat Party, but since COVID has struck, Donald Trump has actually got the stock market back up 2.1% since COVID started, which may not seem like a lot, but is a big jump comparing to how many jobs and such were lost due to the coronavirus. And the BCC has said that during COVID, and jobs have already started going back up since reopening some parts of our country. With that being said, you got to think, it may not seem like that many jobs, being created because so many people lost them, but Trump has created 6.7 million jobs and has had the stock market go up 20%. So, actually to be exact, 20.9%. So to have a little bit of a drop with COVID is obviously predictable because that is a big thing to happen with everything being closed. But he has managed to get those numbers all the way back up to where he has been, which could be seen good in the eyes of voters, or negatively, however you want to see that. It's really who you want to vote for. So going back to everything I've said, you have the Republican Party, which is Donald Trump, and you have Joe Biden, which is the Democrat Party. It's really up in the air. This is a really tight race. You really don't know with everything that's happened this year, such as protests and coronavirus and just so many different aspects. This really could go either way. But this is a huge thing coming up on November 3rd of 2020. So it's a big year with it being election year. So don't forget, take into account and do your research of all the things, pros and cons of both, what they all stand for and things they care about, and really take them into account when you're trying to consider your president and who is going to be running your country and making decisions basically and technically for you. So, be smart when you vote, and happy election year.